If you want to learn Renaissance music as they did in the Renaissance, you have to think with the mind of a Renaissance musicus. So today we are going to help a musicus studying Cantus Firmus, Theophil, hello Theophil, because there are 4 questions in the test that are quite challenging in the Cantus Firmus level. We are in chapter 4. We have some questions. Let's start with the first question. The first question is a melody, so a chant, that has the range of a third species diapente and does not contain any clear and distinct species within it, so species in general. What tone is it? So a melody with the range of a third species diapente. The third species diapente is fa, sol, re, mi, fa. So we have a melody with this range. The melody can be fa, sol, la, sol, re, mi, fa, mi, re, ut, re, fa, mi, re, ut, mi, re, fa, mi, la, sol, la, fa, sol, sol, fa. The question is this a quintus or sextus tonus? Now, since we have only the range of a diapente, for the ancient musicus, this is a sextus tonus. Why? Because we have the major part, so the bigger part, the higher part, in the lower part. So in the we have the corda media, the so-called corda media mean note in English, which is ala mi re in the sextus and quintus tonus. So in this species of the diapente, fa, sol, re, mi, fa. And that's why we have fa, sol, la, which is a major third, and re, mi, fa, which is a minor third. So the corda media alla mi re is major third down and minor third up. So the bigger part is the pars, this is the lower part, the pars remissa. And that's why, since the pars remissa, the lower part, is bigger, has a big amount of intervals of semitones, it is plagalis. So we have a sextus tonus. In order to have this but authenticus, we need species of, for example, the diapente or the diatessaron. In this example, we have the same range, but since we have the major part down, but we have species, ascending species, in this case the ascending species prevail and we have the quintus tonus. So re, sol, fa, sol, re, mi, fa, re, fa, sol, ut, fa, re, mi, re, fa, mi, la, sol, la, fa, re, mi, ut, fa, mi, la, fa, mi, re, mi, ut, fa, sol, la, sol, fa. Because of the presence of ascending species, it is a quintus tonus. Otherwise, without any species, sextus tonus, as the Illuminato says, dimostrazione del sesto tono, so demonstration of the sextus tonus, sixth tones, because, per cagione, because of the space, of the major space, of the bigger space, spazio maggiore, qual è dalla parte remissa della corda, so in the lower part of the corda media, of the mean tone. The other question is, all tones can be perfect or imperfect. The correct answer is true. All tones can be perfect or imperfect. Some of them can be perfect only in the pars intensa, and they are the authentic tones. Other tones can be imperfect in both pars intensa and remissa, and they are the plagal tones. So toni autentici can be imperfect only in the higher part, the pars intensa. Toni plagalis only in the pars remissa. So the correct answer, the one you didn't check, is the first one. True. Don't check about this. This is a little bug on the back end of the system, but the correct answer is true. If you select true, I see from the other side it's correct. Then let's move on to the next question. The other question is, which tonus sings re mi fa sol la? I understand. Pay attention, because here there is a little trick. This is not easy. So if we sing re mi fa sol la, you may say that we have the secundus tonus. I'm totally sure you checked secundus tonus. But pay attention, because re, re, mi, fa, sol, la, re, mi, fa, sol, la. The correct answer is none. Why? The primus tonus cannot be, because the primus tonus is re, mi, fa, sol, re, mi, fa, sol, and the secundus tonus is descending. La, sol, fa, mi, re, sol, fa, mi, re. So the correct answer is none, because this is an ascending scale, while the secundus tonus is a descending scale. That's why, as you can see, tonus plagalis is descending. The tonus authenticus is ascending, always. At least we are talking about Cantus Firmus, in the framework of Cantus Firmus. So the correct answer is none. Okay, if you consider this, re, mi, fa, sol, la, which becomes mi, fa, sol, la, it can even be the primus tonus irregularis, but this is a matter we'll talk about in chapter 8. But based on the knowledge of chapter 4, the correct answer is none. There is no any tonus singing, ascending this scale, which is the second species of the diapente, or first species of the diapente, plus the first species of the diatessaron, both descending. La, sol, fa, mi, re, sol, fa, mi, re. The other question is, a melody that has the range of a third species diatessaron and does not contain any clear and distinct species in general within it, what tone is it? Here we have to consider the corda media, even in this case. Here we have the diapente chant we saw before, but let's do the same case with another chant. So here we have a chant with the diatessaron. So let's make an example with the secundus tonus. Here we have this melody, mi, or better, the other one. Re, fa, mi, sol, fa, mi, fa, re, mi, fa, sol, mi, fa, mi, re. So the range is only a fourth, a species, which is the first species of the diatessaron. So the reason is that the corda media here is F out. So what does it mean? It means that we have a big portion, which is a minor third, re, mi, fa, below the corda media, because we have a minor third. In the higher part, we have only a tonus, fa, sol. So since we have more space below the corda media, this is tonus plagalis. To make this authenticus, so we need ascending species. Re, sol, fa, mi, fa, re, mi, re, sol, fa. So all those chants based, so with the range of a fourth, can only be plagalis if they do not have some species. Now let's suppose that we are on the third species of the diapente. So we have to read the first note as ut. Imagine to read the first note as che, sol, fa, ut. Ut, mi, re, right? Yes, ut, mi, re, fa, this way. Ut, mi, re, fa, mi, re, mi, ut, re, mi, fa, re, ut, re, ut. This can even be fa, sol, la, fa, and this is a sextus tonus. So the correct answer is sextus tonus. Even because of the psalm. Think about the psalm, fa of the sextus tonus. This is chapter 5, actually, the next chapter. But you'll see in chapter 5 that the sextus tonus of the psalm is fa, sol, la, dixis dominus domino meo. Or it can even have the finale, the middle cadence on F out. Fa, sol, la, sol, fa, sol, la, sol, fa. Even in this case, ut, re, mi, fa, mi, or fa, sol, la, fa, la. And so the correct answer is sextus tonus. If we have ascending species, so let's suppose that we have ut, re, mi, fa, re, mi, ut, re, ut, fa, re, ut, fa. In this case, because of the ascending species, ut, fa, we have the quintus tonus. But since we do not have any ascending species, the correct answer is sextus tonus. Learning Cantus Firmus for a Renaissance musicus to understand how Renaissance musicians thought music is very, very important, because Cantus Firmus is the basic of the modality. Palestrina, Monteverdi, all the Italian composer, Neo Cantus Firmus. This was the basic, after Solmization, the practice of the education of the musicus of the Renaissance. They studied Solmization, Cantus Firmus, Cantus Figuratus, tones and modes, and counterpoint. So today you can even find a lot of ancient books. Otherwise, what I did exactly for all the people of the world is the Renaissance path. So if you go on the link in the description, you can start the Renaissance path with the first level of Solmization, which is the following one I show you right now, and then you can continue with the others. Start studying Solmization, where you learn to read music with hexachords here, then practice in B quadro and B duro, then mutation and practice in bemolle, then advanced practice, a lot of more exercises to get better and practice. Complementary class musica ficta, where we study musica ficta, ordo B quadro giacente. Hexachordal solfeggio, where we study how this works in the Baroque period with solfeggi and practice. Then Cantus Firmus, the second level of the Renaissance path, where you can study the liturgy of the Catholic liturgy of the 16th century, notation of Cantus Firmus, so how Cantus Firmus to Gregorian chant is written, intervals and species, how intervals and species work in the Renaissance, perfect and imperfect tones, how to recognize toni perfetti and imperfetti. This is the chapter we were talking about. Psalm tones, so how to recognize the intonatio, the AOI, which is the seculorum amen of all the tones, the introiti in all the tones. Then we'll sing all the psalm, we'll sing the Magnificat, we'll sing the In Exito Israel, the tonus peregrinus, all of these. You can study toni mixti, mixed tone. Here, toni commisti, so the commixtion, when you have the use of foreign species. Irregular tones, tritonus, how tritonus works, affect and ethos, how is the affect and the ethos of the mode, different tones. Then you have chapter 11, some performance aspect of Cantus Firmus, such as transposition, and Cantus Fractus. Then the Cantus Figuratus, so mensural notation level, how figures and rest, how they work, ligatures, how to read ligatures, so how to decode these figures and read music from the original sources. Then mensuration, how to read mensuration, how to decode all the mensuration scenes with exercises. Tactus and imperfection, so how to read tactus with imperfect mensurations. Perfection, so how to read mensure perfecte, emiola, proportions, all the things, how to read the tempus perfectum, even the prolazio perfecta, even the modus perfectum, all the things with a lot of exercises. Proportions, how proportions work, so a kind of emiola here. A very interesting case of the black emiola, so where we invert the downbeat and the upbeat. And then the missa prolationum or the quam olim, studying the segni contrasegni and a different proportion. This is the quam olim from Requiem, from Hoc against Requiem, where we study how to read in different mensure with segni contrasegni. These are all the lessons with exercises. Lyric placement, how to correctly place the text over syllables according to Zerlino, and even with the clear examples by Lasso. And then tones and modes, where we study how the modal system of the Renaissance works. So an introduction to tones and modes, what are the differences between tonus and modus, why, because tones and modes are at the end only 8, so the analysis of the 8 tones, Bicinia, the analysis of the 12 modes, then the corresponding version of the 8 tones. For example, the 12th mode corresponds to the sextus tonus, why, and all these relationships. Zarlino's descriptions of the modes, how to make fugues in all the modes, as you can see with the examples by Berardi. Further transpositions, so how can all these modes be transposed outside of the natural keys. And the great polyphony, how to recognize a motet in a specific modus or tonus. Sextus tonus can even be 12th modus. And then chapter 8 from modality to tonality. So how is the transition between the modal system to the tonal system? So why, for example, the third tonus became A minor? There is a specific reason which is connected to Cantus Firmus, chapter 5, the chapter about psalm tones. So if you study psalm tones, so the intonatio and especially the end, the E, wo, Y, here it is of the tertius tonus, third tone, you can better understand and connect the tonal system to the modal system and how the third tonus became A minor. So go here to the link in the description, start your journey, study the beginning of Solmization, and then you can activate the subscription and continue with all this knowledge, as if you lived in the Renaissance.
I have bad news for you. In the Renaissance, transcriptions didn't exist. All musici pratici, indeed, read music directly from the original sources. They knew how to read ligatures and recognize the correct values, brevis, longa, semibrevis, maxima. They could accurately interpret all the mensurations, perfect, imperfect, tempus, modus, prolazio. They knew how to beat the tactus in accordance with the mensurations and the proportions. So, modern transcriptions are unnecessary. Yes, they can be useful if you want to study the counterpoint and the vertical setting. But do you really have the audacity to claim you perform Renaissance music and are an expert, yet you don't know how to read the notation used by the Renaissance musicians? Fortunately, today you too can learn how to read white mensural notation directly from the original sources without relying anymore on any transcriptions nonsense. I've prepared an entire course of 90 practical lessons for you where I'll teach you gradually how to read figures and rests, how to correctly interpret mensurations in the ancient and in the modern system, how to correctly beat the tactus according to the mensuration and the proportions, how to correctly perform imperfect mensurations and perfect mensurations with all the rules of perfections and imperfections, how to correctly beat the proportions, even the most unexpected ones, like 5-3. How to correctly align the syllables of the text to the notes of the piece, and much more. 90 practical lessons, 200 pages of examples and exercises from the original sources, no transcriptions, only examples from the original sources. So, no more excuses to don't learn white mensural notation, sign up for the course, discover all the topics and the content. Purchase the course and start learning white mensural notation today. Click here.